There you go. It's everybody, Kajima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 146 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host. We're talking Inline G. Money is on my mind, boys. I tell you why, because I have just took a break from doing my yearly tax returns. My income tax returns as a freelance musician here in beautiful Deutschland to come up and record this podcast, and it gave me an idea for a podcast episode, and sure, here we are. And honestly, I'm kind of enjoying doing my taxes this year. As someone who really fucking hates doing taxes and anything that involves a laptop screen that isn't mastered. I'm not going to make that joke. Anything that involves a laptop screen, I'm usually not a big fan of. And also, I live in Germany. So it can be a pain in the ass, but it can be a pain in the ass until you realize you're not living in America. Because I had the absolute fucking pleasure of going down the wormhole of how Americans have to pay taxes, especially freelance artists in America. Holy fuck. I got to work this all out for this episode, and I cannot wait to get on to it later because the state of your tax system over there. But as someone who always hated these things, the reason I'm enjoying it this year is because there's a bit of a sense of an achievement, because I'm now seeing my income for 2025 laid bare in front of me, and living a good life as a freelance artist is an achievement in itself. To be able to afford to survive of being a freelance artist, big deal, lads, big deals. And these figures, looking at them bare, really drove it home. And also, how many things could be deducted for your tax in Germany? Fucking great. I mean, I'm going to be paying more tax this year than I've ever paid, but the achievement of getting to that point through music and freelance art is great. Now, I do complain about Germany a lot on this podcast. Regular listeners will know that very, very well. But working as a freelance artist and musician, especially here, it is top notch. Top notch. I was in the pub. I feel like I start every podcast for that line. I was in the pub, but I was in the pub last weekend, and I was actually meeting a fan of the podcast. I won't say their name on this podcast because maybe they don't fancy being broadcast, but it's been themselves and their partner. And they both studied music in the UK and worked a bit as teachers and freelance artists in the UK. And it just reminded me, because it's been fucking 10 years, 11 years since I've lived in the UK, how draining it is as a career back there. Like the teaching, especially, and the costs associated with being a teacher. Like travel costs in London, for example, fucking mad. And like I remember seeing a post in one of the UK musician Facebook groups about a few days ago before that, saying how now UK high schools, a lot of them will charge instrumental teachers a rental cost for the rooms. They'll charge them like £1 per student per week or something. I'm like, what the fuck's going on, lads? Firstly, in Germany, that could never happen here. There'd be an uproar at that. They'd be out in the fucking streets if that kind of thing happened. And also, if it did have to come in, the fee would be passed to the student, obviously. So then they could go and do the complaining. It's not, the onus is not on us as teachers to go and complain. It's on the student if they're paying for it. Then they'll have more of an impact on the school. Because purely doing things for money making doesn't incentivize the music teacher to work there, and it doesn't incentivize the teachers to come in for lessons. And that's a very strong part of the German mentality and German thinking is art shouldn't be done for money. It serves its purpose and it's got its role. Germans are incredibly logical thinkers, and they want to know, well, the role of music is to make people happy and to enjoy their life. Yes, well then that's what it is. They don't want it to be money making. They just for enjoying their life. Yes. And that kind of thing, that kind of behavior is gently killing the music education system. All for what? For the fucking almighty King's Pound. The shilling of King Charles. Like, who wants it? Germany would never do that. German traditionalism and absolute fucking adherence to logic can be maddening, but at a professional level, it's brilliant. It's very, very useful. Because they would never allow an education institution to start placing profit first. If education is underfunded, they see it as the state's duty to sort that out. That's what they pay tax for, and they pay a fuckload of taxes. We're going to talk about today. So today, actually, I'm going to break down in the simplest terms I can what it looks like in 2026 for a freelance musician. Doesn't mean orchestral, by the way. It means anyone who's making their money as a freelance artist or not in a fixed position in Germany, France, the UK, and the USA, talking about how the tax works in the different countries, the securities that are offered to you, your insurances, your job security, your income, your social rights, your workers' rights, blah, 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 blah. All the myths that are out there about these different countries. We're going to get to that. Now, why have I picked those 4 countries? Well, I've lived in 3 of them. So I've lived in France, I've lived in Germany, I live in Germany now, and I've lived in the UK and the USA because it's the biggest market. Plus, it also makes all the other countries look a lot better. But you bet the USA anything. Bring the standard up for everybody else. Because we look great in comparison to that. So we're going to start with Deutschland. Because for a lot of us, you'll hear this myth, especially if you're studying, well, not a myth, but you'll hear this trope of Germany being the center of the world for freelance musicians or classical musicians or orchestral musicians in general. We're going to really look at that, what it means financially for your average musician, not someone going to the top level of the fucking Berlin Philharmonic or the WDR Symphony Orchestra, but someone who's just making money in Germany as an artist. So we're going to talk about taxation rates first and how much tax you pay in Germany. The rates of tax in Germany are the same for everybody, regardless of career path, okay? So 2026 tax brackets. You pay 0% tax on anything up to 12,348 euros per year. Then you pay a variable rate, which increases as the money goes up, from between 12,349 to 69,878 euros. And that rate is between 14 and 42%. After 68,000 right up until 277,000 euros per year, you're going to be paying 42%. And then everything after that is 45%. Now, what's really important to remember with this is these are marginal tax rates. So only the income within that respective band is taxed at that rate. I'll try to explain this, but people don't get their heads around this, and it's fucking mad to me. Okay, that does not mean, if you earn the upper tax bracket, so that starts at earning 277,826 euros per year. If you earn that per year, it does not mean 45% of that is sent to the tax office. That is not how tax works. That would be an effective tax rate. That's not what most countries have. Marginal means the following. So let's say you earn 12,350 euro. Okay, so that means you're €2 over the first tax rate. If you made €2 less, you'd still be included in the 0% tax rate. That does not mean if you earn that extra €2, suddenly you're going to be paying 14% on your tax. So you'd be thinking, well, fuck the €2, I'd rather not make that and end up having to pay fucking $1,000 in tax. It's not how it works. It means you owe 14% tax on the €2 above that. So what's that, like fucking 28p or something? 28 cents, sorry. You don't pay it on the whole thing. So let's say if you bring in a revenue of 40,000 euros per year in Germany. The amount of tax you're actually going to pay, because of all the different variable bands, is going to be about 20%. Again, that first 12,000, that's tax-free. The first 12,000 you make, that's all for you. That can't be touched. Then it goes on a sliding scale as it goes up. Now, if it was in that band, you would be at 42%. You'd be paying 42% of your tax in that tax group if it was effective tax rate, but it's not, it's marginal. So you're only paying about 20% roughly. Now, on tax, at the end of the year, you report your revenue, how much money you brought in through the doors, how much money went into your bank account. That is not your taxable income in Germany. And what you do first is you remove deductibles. Things that are essential to your work come off your income because you shouldn't have to pay tax on them. If you need them for work, you shouldn't be taxed on them. That's the general idea. So if it's essential to your work, it comes off. So if you make, 20k a year, or 40k a year, we'll stick with 40. If you make 40k a year, but you bought a brand new flute that year at, 5,000 euros, a cheap one, your taxable income is then down to 35,000 euros per year, not 40, because that 5,000 euro was something you bought that is essential to your work. It's a little bit different with instruments because sometimes you have to put a depreciation value on it. So if it's going to last for a couple of years, it gets measured out per year. But that's the general rough idea of it. This applies to a lot of things you can put in your tax forms in Germany to make sure you bring that income down and down and down. It's not stealing money, by the way. This is what you should be doing because these are things that are entitled to you to work. So it's things like, what have I claimed back? Like my backpack. I have a backpack that I use specifically for when I go to school or when I go to orchestra gigs. Obviously, that's only for work. I have to bring it. Music stands that I bring to do gigs. Music notation software. Black shoes for concerts. Fucking everything. Like my Canvas subscription that I have to do for all professional reasons. My website fees to do my advertising. My domain fees. That's like €150 a year. I have to pay all them. That all gets claimed back. Now, you can also claim back something that is for personal use. This is where it gets into the grey area. I hope you're all learning something from this, by the way, because it will get more complicated later. Personal use. So, for example, as a musician, a lot of things go in that little grey area. Something you can use personally, but you also use for your job. So let's say you buy a brand new iPhone 17. Why? Because you want to do recordings. You want to submit recordings to auditions. You want to have the best quality video possible. That's grand. You go and buy that. Now, what you have to do is, You have to work out the percentage of the usage of that thing that is used for professional purposes and the percentage that is used for non-professional. So if you buy a new phone and you think 20% of it is used for professional work, you claim 20% of the price of it off as your tax deductible. Or you go and buy a new phone for work and it's purely for work purposes, and that way you can take it off entirely. It's why a lot of people do that. They have work phones, even as self-employed people, because it makes it easier to understand, clearer what goes into where, and so much easier to claim off your tax at the end of the year. And it keeps things nice and professional and separates work and life, which again is a very important thing in Germany. We will get to that later as well. So if you're getting a new phone, but you're also scrolling TikTok on it, you have to work out how much it's going to be used for recording and how much you're using looking at big titty golf girls on TikTok. Because you can't claim the money back on that, lads. So the aim of the game is to get your taxable income down to a lower point. Again, you're not cheating the system here. This is what you are entitled to. And Germany encourages you to do that. For example, home office, if you're teaching from home, that is deductible. The rate of home office is €6 per day for every time you work at home. In Germany, what you can actually do is if you have a separate room for teaching that is purely for teaching and working as a freelancer, you can claim back the percentage of all the bills for your flat on that room. I can't do that here because I have this space up here, but it's not technically a room because it's got an open wall. So it needs to have a closed area, and I think you can't go through your living room to get there or something like that. But you measure your flat, if it's 100 meters squared and your room is 10 meters squared, great. That means you claim 10% of your rent back, 10% of your heating, 10% of your electricity, 10% of all your bills, you get as deductible income. It's great. And it works for travel. Now, Germany, when we're going to get on to travel, because it's going to be a big thing, Germany has a thing called the Deutschland ticket. They brought it out a couple of years ago for a 2-month period to try and get people to drive less. So they want people to take public transport more. So for 2 months in the summer, a couple of years ago, you could buy a thing called the Deutschland ticket, which was €9 per month. And it included unlimited transport on all public transport within the entire country of Germany, excluding high-speed trains. So that means, yes, you could, if you end up in Berlin, all your buses, all your trams, all your undergrounds, they're all included in Berlin. As if you went to Munich for the weekend, all your travel is included there. If you came to Cologne, you can jump on the U-Bahn, do all that. You can go between cities. You just can't get the high-speed train. So if I wanted to go to Berlin, it would take me like 9 hours from Cologne. The high-speed train's like 4. But if I want to go to Dusseldorf, no problems. I take the normal trains. If I want to go to Aachen or Dortmund or Bonn or Essen, all grand. Just high-speed trains go big distances. You have to pay for separately. They've still kept that ticket, but it now costs €63 per month, which is still fucking class. Now, obviously, that's deductible. All your insurances are deductible. So if you're getting like musical instrument insurance or house insurance, it's going to include work things. These are all deductible. Because the nature of a freelance artist is so many things we use for daily life are tied to our work. So the biggest one in Germany is going to be health insurance. And we're going to talk about this because I'm going to do it in every country. It is illegal in Germany to not have health insurance. It is an obligation from the state. It is actually, technically speaking, the most expensive health insurance in the world. You can go to private health insurance. Most people go with state-run, and there's a couple of companies that are run by the state or funded by the state. These are state healthcare. It is incredible here. There is no reason for anyone to go private here. State healthcare in Germany is fucking class. Now, you pay, no matter how much money you make, your health insurance will cost you with the state 14.9% of your income. That means the more money you make, the more you pay into health insurance. It's essentially a tax. Now, with that, you are 100% fully covered. You will never, ever, ever pay a penny extra. In fact, you don't pay. Money doesn't even come out of your bank account. Once you pay for your insurance, you put your card down, that's it. It's all covered. And I mean everything. There's no deductibles. You can get therapy on it as well. You can get everything on the German health insurance system. And fucking appointments are fast, they're organized, they're digital, which is amazing for Germany. You can go to see a doctor the next day. I had a problem with my throat a couple of weeks ago. The next morning I was at a specialist. No problems at all. Germany's class. Now, it is expensive. The absolute minimum, depending on your income, the minimum is still €230 a month. But the way it works in Germany is your employer, if you're in normal employment, is obliged, they have to pay half of that. Even if you're in a part-time contract, your employer has to pay half your health insurance. You pay the other half, but it comes out of your wages. So you don't even see it. When you get your wages at the end of the month, your health insurance is already taken out. Like a tax. Now, all tax in Germany is... But yeah, I should have said this actually. All tax in Germany is paid by your employer. Unless you're self-employed. And that's the same in nearly every country, apart from the States where they do this kind of weird holding system. Every other country, your employer is responsible for sorting out your tax. They have to have someone who can manage to make sure they've paid the right amount of tax for you, depending on what they're paying you. It's nothing to do with you. If they fuck up the tax, it's up on them. If they fuck it up and you owe more money, it also goes to you. You can do a tax rebate and say, I think my employer's overpaid. It goes to you. It comes back in your pocket. Your employer can go fuck themselves. It's their duty. That's one of the benefits. They're getting employees out of this. Fuck them. They have to do it. Most countries, nobody does their own taxes. Now, where the tax system is, this is where it comes a little bit difficult for Germans who are freelance, or health insurance especially. This is where it comes difficult for freelance artists and musicians, because I'm freelance, totally self-employed technically. My health insurance at the minute is like €250 a month. I do not have an employer to pay half of that, so I have to pay it all out of my own pocket. Now, this is where the KSK comes in. It's a huge organization called the Künstlersozialkasse. It's like Künstlersozialkasse, like artist social organization. It's run by the state. This is where it works. It's a state-run body that ensure freelance artists can live comfortably. It acts as an employer. So you apply to be a member of the KSK by proving that you are active as a freelance artist. You have to put in things like, concert programs and invoices and making sure you're not making money from outside the arts in a way that's overrunning your income, blah, blah, blah. But once you can prove that you're actively making your income as a freelance artist, you get accepted. One of the reasons I'm doing this podcast as well, because I'm submitting my application now at the minute, I want them to see I'm an artist. So lads, if you're watching from the KSK, moin, gut Deutsch sehen. Now, their funding comes from two different places, the KSK. It's one from government funding, and two, if you're a company who hires freelance artists. So if you're a music school that doesn't employ them but hires freelance artists, you have to pay a contribution to the KSK. That's part of the KSK. You have to pay to that. If an orchestra brings in extra players that aren't on full-time contracts and they're not obliged to pay any of their social security or health insurance, they have to pay the KSK instead. For every single gig and every person that comes in, they pay a small fee towards the KSK. That's how it's funded. Because these companies are the ones that are benefit of not having to pay for any insurance or tax or social obligations with freelance artists. So they have to pay fucking someone. They can't just get away with taking money off people. That's not how it works. So Germany makes sure they pay. When you're accepted, the KSK acts as your employer. They cover half of all your insurances. So 8% of your income then starts going on health insurance. Also, what it will add in is nursing insurance, care insurance, and pension. So you get all that included. You pay a one-off monthly fee based on your income, 8% of your income. No, it'd be a bit more. 8% is for health insurance alone. It's a bit more. It's about 14%, I think, overall. And you get all your insurances covered. You also get sick pay. So if I can't go to work for a week and I'm afraid of losing all my income, the KSK will pay me based on my income what I would have earned that week to make sure I don't have to panic about it. It works as an employer, really. That's all it is. It's fucking class, and I take it for granted because I live in Germany now. But loads of things in Germany are class. For example, rent is capped here. You can't just fucking raise the rent €1,000 because the areas became cool. Like where I live now, there's fucking vegan cafes popping up everywhere. This used to be a shithole. Now it's hipster central. My rent can only go up by something like 0.5% per year. That's a limit in Germany. You can't do it. The only way you can make the apartment go much more expensive is if you do major renovation work. Also, which then has to be approved by the tenant. It's fucking class. You cannot increase rent here. Energy bills are capped by the government. I had to raise my energy bills recently. My energy provider emailed me in English to tell me, fucking personally saying that using his name, saying President Donald Trump has closed the Strait of Hormuz, and until he decides to open it again, we're going to have to put our prices up. Fucking bitchy as hell. It was great. But when those prices go up, the government will put a cap on how much it is. They can't go out of the control, and if they do, then the government will take the hit. Because people need to live, and they understand that the economy will take way too much of a hit if you just start skinning people. So you have to take the hit. You will pay better for it in the future. So, everything is stable here. I know that no bills are going to hit me out of nowhere that are going to be like fucking hundreds of euros. It just doesn't happen in Germany. It can't. Germany makes sure that you're prepared for everything. It is stable and financially viable, even for freelance musicians. Yes, American wages are higher, but our money here goes so much further. And financial security is guaranteed here. When we say Germany is this great beacon for classical music and classical musicians, that is why. Because you can make an actual income and live in here without stressing all the fucking time. Life as a freelancer is safe and viable. As it also is in La France, France, my old home. So I was a student in France when I was there. So I paid student rates for like healthcare and social contributions and blah, 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 and tax and all that. But I have enough mates back there to get a good image of what goes on in France in 2026. So If you decided tomorrow, dear listener, that you wanted to move to Gay Paris and become a freelance musician doing your teaching and your gigging. Freelance musician, by the way, doesn't mean just gigging. You can also be given lessons. It's anything that doesn't have a permanent employer who's giving you a contract. There are a lot of great things. Now, firstly, you'll probably come into a tax bracket called the micro-entrepreneur. That system, okay, so tax in Germany is very high. Tax in France is also famously very high, but it looks after artists. So if you become part of a micro-entrepreneur thing, which is just for self-employed people, do a certain income, something like 80k a year, you'll apply most likely for a thing called versement libératoire. You don't have to apply for it, but people do. And that is a thing for your income tax. Now, it is a system where self-employed people can simplify their income tax. So you pay 2.2% of your yearly revenue as tax, flat rate. That's it. No fucking around with it. No thinking about it. 2.2% of your yearly revenue is paid on tax. 2.2%, by the way, fuck all. Now, it is revenue. It's not taxable income. So there's no deductibles like you have in Germany. Whatever money went into your bank account, 2.2% of that will go on your tax. But it takes the bollocks out of it. You don't have to work it out. You don't have to fuck around with different tax people. No, you can do it all yourself. You just pay a rate. That's it. Done and dusted. You say, I made 40k a year. Take 2.2% of that. And we're done. Bob's your Uncle Fanny's your aunt. And it's paid at the same time as your obligatory social contributions that everyone in France pays. So that includes health insurance, sick pay, disability pay, pension, care pay, etc., etc. This payment is also worked out as a percentage of your revenue. So it goes up when you make more money. For self-employed people, it's about 22%. It's for those who would be earning like 40k a year. So if you're on that 40k a year income of revenue, 22% of that would be going towards social contributions. So all in all, about 23.5% of your income, roughly, if you're making 40k a year, will pay everything. That will cover your tax, all your health insurance, again, fully covered in France. Absolutely covered from top to bottom. Brilliant healthcare system as well. Not a penny would you ever pay on top of that. It would also pay into your pension for your retirement. It'll cover your sick pay, disability pay if something happens to you, family care if you need a carer at some point in your life. All these things are included. 23.5% of your income covers everything. Everything. So if you look at that, if you're on 40k, that's about 9,400 euro a month, which is about 783 euro a month, which means after your monthly income, you will be left, your monthly income would be like 3,330. You'd be left like 2,500 euro a month after you've paid all your insurances and all the things you need to survive legally and your taxes and blah, blah, blah. And France has an amazing thing, which I'm sure you've all heard of at some point because we see it in TikTok and fucking popping up in Facebook memes, but it is true. They have a system called intermittent du spectacle. So it's a system uniquely for performing artists, people who are in the performance industry. And how it works is you have to work 507 hours in a year. Now, that does include rehearsals. So you have to get 507 hours. You have to make track of it. You have to have it signed by people of rehearsals and performing as an artist. If you hit that 507 mark, which is about 43 working days in the year, roughly, it's like 10 hours a week it averages out to. It's not much. If you hit that, you're accepted into the intermittent du spectacle system. Once you're accepted in, the way it works is France the government pays you a living wage for periods where you don't get work or money based on the income of your previous work. So what a lot of people will do is they might get like seasonal work where they do a lot of operas in and around Christmas time or the summer festivals. If they can clock up the 507 hours in that little few months period, whatever their income is estimated to be in that period, the government will pay them that for the rest of the year so they don't have to work, which is incredible. It's a fucking class system and the envy of the world for musicians. But it should be. It's essentially giving you a steady salary that you can rely on as a freelance artist. You don't have that fucking gig and famine mentality that a lot of people have as freelance artists. So when people ask why are Germany and France so good for freelance artists, these are the reasons why, lads. They really do. And they fucking pay them. They pay them money. That's the secret to it. There's no fucking conspiracy. It's not really a cultural thing. It's really simple. They give them money for it. Give people money, they will do better art, okay? It's highly valued by the state. It's highly valued by the people. It comes into the conversation. And also, I should say why we're talking about this, because we're going to get to this later, both France and Germany, fully free university, 100% free, okay? Nothing. Incredible healthcare systems, capped rents, really strong workers' rights in both countries. Like in France and Germany, it is impossible to get fired from a job. It is impossible. You have to burn the fucking place down, and even then you don't get a warning. You have to give so many documented warnings before someone can lose their job, and you can never get evicted from an apartment. Again, you'd have to burn the place down. And even then, for example, you can't get evicted in winter in either country. It is illegal to evict someone in those months because they can't go onto the cold streets. That's it. So yes, you do pay a lot of money in tax, but it's fucking working. You see where it goes with your eyes. You see the benefit all. Now, we're going to move on to 2 more countries where it isn't quite so good. But before we do that, I want to do a quick read in the Patreon. There isn't much left of this podcast, by the way. I hope not, lads. That was the good countries. Now we just get the shit. But anyway, quickly, if you're a regular listener around here, you know what I'm about to do. You can fucking skip ahead a minute or two, go pour yourself a cup of tea or a gin and tonic. If you're new around here, just give me your ears for 1 little minute. The Inline G podcast is free. It'll always be free, motherfucker. That is a guarantee. However, if you want to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address. And for the audio listeners, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute podcast. Listen, lads, I'm going to make this quick. This podcast comes out every single fucking Friday, okay? I do all the work on my own around here. There's no one else involved. This is a 100% independent podcast. 146 weeks, every single Friday. Grma nor shine like the fucking postman, bar one. There has been an episode of this podcast. I adore it. I love making this podcast. It's the greatest creative process of my life. I get to meet so many of you guys as well. It has been incredible. It's a lot of work. It's hours writing these episodes and recording and editing. I make time for it because I love it. There are no sponsors in this podcast because they will control what I can and can't say. And it means I can't swear, I can't talk about politics, blah, blah, blah. They can go fuck themselves. We tried to have them on. It didn't work. Not doing them anymore. So, it is sponsored by you, the listener. It is the world's biggest classical flute podcast. The world's biggest flute podcast. Becoming a big podcast in general here, lads. Some of the numbers in some of these episodes have been wild. 100% listener funded. Very punk rock. You guys support the podcast. It means I can turn away work and spend more time concentrating on it to build it up. And you get the exact podcast you want. It costs $5 a month. I think it's like €5.20 or something. Sign up on Patreon. If you want to just give me it as a one-off fee to say thank you because you listened to a couple of episodes, you want to give me a $5, go and subscribe and then unsubscribe immediately straight away. And then €5 goes into my account and then you get to do the one-off thing. But if you hang around, it'd be great because it really is supportive. It's €5 a month, lads. It's not even the cost of a pint once a month. If you saw me in the pub and you say, Gareth, thank you for making that podcast. I got 4 hours of entertainment this month. Can I buy you a beer? Once a month, you would. So do it digitally. It really makes a difference. Without the patrons, this podcast would not exist. I cannot stress enough how much it matters. I need to make money off this, lads. I need to. If there's no money from it, I can't afford to do it anymore. I've got not bigger fish to fry, but I got money to make. All right. These Nike jackets don't buy themselves. That was a joke, by the way. So anyway, if you can afford to sign up, it would be massively appreciated, even just for a short term or for one single month. Really appreciate it. If you can't afford it, that's fine. You will not miss out on any content. I really believe it should be free for everybody, so I won't make any extra episodes for patrons. I'm sorry. But I don't think income should base what you get out of this podcast. So if you can afford it, sign up. Great. If you can't, don't worry about it. Someone who can afford it is paying so that you can listen for free. It is a system based on kindness and soundness. Thank you very much. Now, we get to the 2 shitholes here. We'll start with the Brits. There is fuck all support available in the United Kingdom for freelance artists from the UK government available in 2026. In fact, the main way freelance artists survive these days is a mixture of charities, funds, grants, and crowdfunding. And all these are super irregular, as you know. There's nothing to rely on. You can't put your hat in these. These are project-based, and they dry up like fuck when things go on. Not just like, we're talking about normal working artists. People like myself who are just trying to make a living, doing the odd gig here and there, making money. We're not talking about the superstars. We're not even talking at the high level of orchestral playing. Look at the likes of fucking Glyndebourne. Glyndebourne Opera in 2023 had their Arts Council funding cut by 50% just one day. They woke up one day, the Arts Council said, no, we're taking 50% off you. Sorry, we haven't got the money anymore. This is Glyndebourne. This is one of the most major opera companies in the world. Glyndebourne, just out of nowhere, fucking major company, nearly disappeared overnight. Totally fucked them. Welsh National Opera, an amazing opera company. Fucking unbelievable orchestra. One night they woke up, 14% of their funding was gone. 14, gone, overnight. That was like last year before last. And the WNO had to write to the players. Well, I don't know if they had to, but they wrote to the players and said, would you all consider please taking a 15% pay cut and moving to part-time contracts instead of full-time? This is WNO. This is a major orchestra. Like, imagine studying your whole life and getting to that level of performing to get into an orchestra like that, which is so fucking good. And then being told you're going to a part-time contract and having your pay cut by 15%. Go fuck yourself. This is the cream of the crop in the United Kingdom getting rid of the whole. So what chance does your average performing artist have? Like, throw in the other restrictions that have been brought back or brought through because of Brexit as well, where people can't even tour anymore in Europe, where they relied on a lot of their income. Kate Nash, the pop star, a couple of years ago, launched her Butts for Tour Buses tour because she was basically saying she can go on OnlyFans and sell pictures of her art and she will make more money than the help provided to her by the UK government to support artists. Like, that's fucking wild, man. The UK artist essentially lives in this perpetual state of touring constantly because there's fuck all support available, and now streaming services mean that you're not even getting any money from that. So you just have to tour and tour and tour and tour to make any kind of fucking money, to break even. Throw in, on top of that, insane housing prices in the likes of London. Insane prices, ludicrous transport costs, ludicrous utility costs. Like in London, if you want to get an unlimited travel card on the London Underground, for zones 1 and 2 only, it is 171 British pounds a month. 171 pounds a month for the fucking Underground. It smells like piss. The average train to Manchester, right? It takes 2 hours, by the way. London to Manchester, 2 fucking hours. The UK's tiny. 2 fucking hours away. The average price is over £100, and if you get it at the last minute or in peak times, which is basically when everyone's fucking... The idea of peak times is fucking insane because you have to go to work, so you have to go on the fucking peak time. A return ticket can be over 200 quid. From London to Manchester. Like, that's the distance of here to Dusseldorf. It's fucking ridiculous. These are the 2 main cities in England. It's not like they're not well connected. And the bills people are paying, the energy bills back home are insane. There was a forecast from some company out in Cornwall that had forecast with the latest things that are going on in Iran, household energy bills by July could raise by almost £400 annually for your average household. Just blowing up. £400 it's going to raise by. My electricity went up here. €3 a month it went up. And even then I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Charging me €3 a month. And the thing is, when you're working in the UK, do your wages go up with that? Are you earning more money? Of course you're fucking not. So there is one small advantage in the UK, and that is free healthcare. The NHS, the National Health System, is 100% free for everybody. There's no card, there's no machines, there's nothing. You just walk into the doctors and do it. The system is fucking brilliant. In theory. In practice, it is on its fucking knees at the minute. Like Northern Ireland, where I'm from, we still have the NHS, we're still part of the UK. I hear horror stories from my mates. And this is Belfast we're talking about, or Lisburn. We're talking about rural UK. We're not talking about London or Manchester, where it's worse. We're talking waiting times of, like, you phone up and say you want an appointment with your doctor, with your GP. They could say, like, maybe you got fucking tonsillitis or a bit of a chest infection. Like, yeah, are you free in 6 months to come down for a doctor's appointment? That's real. That's what's going on there. You could be looking 6 months for a GP appointment. Don't even fucking talk to me about specialists or anything and surgery and the waiting list for that. 6 months. So the theory of the NHS is amazing, but in practice, I think most people in the UK would rather pay a monthly fee to actually get healthcare because you don't get it anymore. The Conservative government have fucking ridded up the hole. And then the thing I hear from people in the UK, or the thing even politicians are spinning, is it's the same everywhere. The whole world is suffering with this. They're not. We're not, lads. We're fucking not in Germany. I'm telling you, we're not. None of us are getting this. People in Ireland aren't getting this either. The UK, for a freelance artist, is precarious at best. That's being me nice there. It could be a lot worse, though. Could be a lot worse. And that's how we get to our last country of today. The United States of America. Because my American listeners, please correct me in whatever I say here if it is incorrect, because a lot of things vary quite widely by state. But there's also some of this. I'm refusing to believe this is true. Like, I have done so much research in this episode. I'm still like, that can't be real. There's no way that's real. We're talking about a first world country here. It's fucking mad. Okay, so we'll start with tax in the US for freelance artists. Freelancers in the US, as I understand, pay their own tax. So they do a yearly tax return, but also they go for a thing called quarterly estimates. So 4 times a year, they will pay what they think their tax was up to that quarter. Now, by the way, 4 times a year to be doing your tax is work. That's work. That's time. That's so much fucking effort. Me doing my tax once a year takes a day for me. Maybe even 2 days, 3 days to get it all in the shape. If I was doing that 4 times a year, I'd shoot myself. Fuck that. I could afford to shoot myself in America at least. So 4 times a year they're doing it. Now, there is a thing called the federal tax rate. So if we look at, let's pretend they're going 40k a year again, keep it even, we'll call it $40,000. It's more or less 1-to-1 with the euro. Yeah, you can make it bigger if you want. Although 40K apparently in America, if you're making $40,000 a year, you're fucked in most major cities in America. Which in Europe is a really good income. If you're making 40K a year in Europe, you're doing grand. So, first of all, they pay a thing called self-employment tax, which is a rate of 15.3% of their income. Tax deductibles can be used, much like they are in Germany, to bring that taxable income down. Now, that does include two things, Social Security and Medicare. So when I was reading this, I was like, fuck, if you're freelance, you get health insurance in the US with your 15.3%. That's great. That's like Germany. Happy day. The Yanks are getting cheap health insurance. Apparently, Medicare is not health insurance. Even though the name is Medicare, you'd think it would medically fucking care for you. Does it bollocks? For people who aren't from America, you're not going to believe this. Okay, so you pay for this. Like, this is in your social contributions, in your fucking tax. It's your stamps, basically. If you're over 65 in America, you can get Medicare. Or if you're really fucking sick, you can apply for it. But Medicare, basically, it is a form of insurance, but there's like different tiers to it. There's 4 different tiers. I'm going to tell you about the first 2, okay? Again, these are only for people over 65. If you're younger, you still pay for it. And you have to be paying into it for 10 years minimum to even get accepted to it. So Part A is your hospital insurance, which covers inpatient hospital stays, care in nursing facilities, hospice care, and some home health care. Most people do not pay a premium for this, but only if their spouse or someone they're married to is paid into Medicare for 10 years at least. So that's the only way to get it right enough, paying for it. You have to pay for these stuff, and you have to pay for it for a long time 10 years of paying for it before you can start claiming it. The other one is medical insurance, which is wild. So this covers, hear this sentence for me. This covers Medicare, Part B, covers doctor's visits, outpatient care, medical supplies, and preventative services. Part B requires a monthly premium, which was $174.70 in 2024, and $185 in 2025 per month, on top of the contributions you're paying as part of your taxes. On top of that. What the fuck, lads? Like, what's going on? This is insane. Now they pay federal tax on top of that. So that's your freelancer tax. That's your self-employment tax. Now your federal tax comes in. So a different tax brackets, marginal again. But if you're getting 40K a year, you're probably talking somewhere around $2,540 a year in tax. Now, what does your tax fund in America? Well, that will cover things like blowing up children's hospitals in Gaza and covering up the biggest child sex trafficking ring in history. Then you have states that pay a tax. So certain states will have a state tax. It's about 3 to 7%. The good states have that basically, okay? Because you get public transport and things like that out of it. The states that don't have it, if you want to pay zero state tax, go to Texas. But then you have to live in fucking Texas, and it's a fucking hole. So totally, after your 40K, if you're in your average sort of American city, after you've paid all those taxes and things and blah, 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 you have about $31,000 left a year. So per month, you're talking about $2,580, which is very similar to what you would be getting in Germany. Great. Let's look at health insurance, first of all, because fuck me, lads. I did a bit of research on this. I went through a couple of different websites and checked out what I would have to pay in my situation if I was in America. So a 33-year-old man, no existing conditions, and freakishly handsome, some would say. So apparently there's different like programs a lot of them offer, gold and silver, blah, blah, blah. I think I'd be going for a silver program because it's more affordable. And apparently at that income range, most people would go for a silver program. And you'd be paying probably around $500 a month. Now, you can get subsidies because apparently 40K a year is considered wildly low income, which can cover that. But a lot of people don't get accepted to it. But even if I did, we're still talking like $200 a month for subsidized. And that's a big if. But the thing is, it's not really health insurance. Nothing's covered. Like, it's not, I don't know what they're insuring you against. Like, deductibles. That word should not exist in health insurance. It's fucking insane to me that this is a thing. Deductibles. In health, it's not a car. This is health insurance. You could die. So deductibles can be between $2,000 and $5,000 per year before your insurance kicks in. So I'm sure people know what deductibles are, but that's essentially what you have to pay out of pocket before your insurance starts paying for things. So what's the fucking point in paying $200 or $500 a month in insurance if you're not even going to fucking pay for them? So like doctor's visits, you'd still be paying for them. Like I go to the doctor a couple of times a year max. So as I understand, if you wanted to be fully covered, so you want to have enough money to cover your deductible and to pay your silver program health insurance, you need to save about $7K a year to cover all your potential caps and deductibles. And you'd have to pay more to get your health insurance. So yeah, I think all in all, it's going to be about $7,000 a month. I think I worked it out to be around that to say I am fully safe. $580 a month Then you pay your $500 health insurance a month. So that's me. The $580 is me covering my deductibles and my caps and other things that come in as well, which don't get included. All kinds of weird shit. Prescriptions get charged. Fucking calling out an ambulance gets charged. All this stupid shit. Then my $500 a month. So that's me paying fucking $1,000 a month to being sure that I'm definitely going to be okay. That's what you have to pay. Then, or I could get a gold plan, which does cover it, but the gold plan covers about $1,000 a month. And even then, you look at some of these gold plans with some of the health providers, they don't cover everything either. They have deductibles and weird ways of getting money out. It's bizarre. And you have to find doctors that accept your health insurance, because some of them apparently don't accept insurance or don't accept your one. Like in Germany, they don't get a say in it. You can't give a doctor cash. They don't have fucking card machines in the doctors here, man. You give them your health insurance. If you don't have the time to go fuck yourself and go get it, you have to have it here. They have to accept it. Why wouldn't they? What's the fucking point in having it? And then another bill that Americans pay that we don't pay in Europe is student loans repayments. Okay, the UK will pay them. I have student loans as well. Not a lot. Like when I was going to university, it was £3,000 a year to attend university in the UK. So, and then in France, it didn't cost. So, but I did 7 years of study. So 4 years in the UK, 3 years in France. If I did that in the UK, apparently, so that's a bachelor program and a master's program, at an equivalent level of music college or conservatoire, I think I would have a student loan debt of around $250,000. $200,000. Apparently that's average, because I probably wouldn't get a scholarship. I didn't. Well, I got one. Anyway, let's say I didn't, and I don't have the family means to back up me. Then you're fucked. So I know lots of people in the US who are paying about $300 a month to repay their student loans, and they're on average incomes, because you can still choose the option where you pay more back depending on your income. But average incomes will still be paying $300 a month, which for people who aren't making a lot of money, that's a shitload. And then you have interest rates on them, which is also obscene, because it's a government loan. It should be, well, apparently it's not. I don't know exactly how that works. But in Germany and France, if you need help with your studies, you'll take loans. They're interest-free, obviously. They're 12% sometimes in the US on your student loans. 12% interest. Like, if you're getting $200K loans, what's 12% of $200K? $22,000? What the fuck? They're robbing bastards. That's insane. So after I pay for my health insurance and my student loans, my monthly income from my previously $2,500 is now about $1,000. And then if I'm working as a freelancer and my work dries up, I'm fucked. There's no social security net in America. Contract, you can get fired at any fucking time in America. Your work could just disappear. In Germany and France, I'd be fully covered on my previous income if anything happened to me. If I got sick or any problems had, I can't get fired, even from these fucking freelance positions. They're really hard to get rid of you. But if they did, I'd be covered. The UK, at least I could go and get unemployment benefits if I lost my work, which is like, I think it's £98 a week right now, the dole in the UK. So you can go and apply for that, at least for a little while. You're not going to die. In the USA, you just have to take out another loan to pay the fucking loans that you're already paying and get out of the inevitable debt that keeps coming up. And then it goes round the circle. Like, really, in the USA, you cannot get sick. You can't afford to be sick if you're poor. You just can't. You can't afford to not work for 2 months, because you're going to get fucked even worse, because then your income will fuck off. Your health insurance will still cost money because you're paying fucking deductibles to go and get treatment for it. So then you can't afford to get fucking sicker. You can't afford to go to the doctors, which means you get sicker. Then the bills keep coming in and the income goes down, and you never get the money back up. You never get any kind of security or looked after. That's a failed system. That doesn't work. What is the fucking point of it all? I could go on for fucking hours about the US economy here, lads. I'm really losing my mind here. But I hope a lot of you realize this. Europe is 100% fucking better. There is nothing better in the USA than in Europe. Fucking nothing. You really need to start understanding this. Even if you're maybe if you're a millionaire, maybe the States might be more fun. But for everyone else, you want to be here. It's much better here. Work-life balance in Europe is a thing. It's really valued here. We have free time. Now look at me. I make a steady income. I can afford to pay my rent, pay my bills, save a little bit of money, go on a couple of holidays a year, fly back to Ireland when I want to, and I don't work that much. And I'm fully covered with all my insurances. I mean, bills will never surprise me. I will not have a drastic change to my income in the negative sense, ever. And I still have time for fucking pints or wee trips to Belfast. So is there a moral to this episode? I don't fucking know, guys. I don't think there is. I really don't think there is. I think it's fuck America. It's ridiculous. And also, this whole thing was basically a performance for the Cascada to accept me in. So please do. And it's also another chance to bitch about America, which I'd never turned down. So I'm sorry for you guys over there. But I'm hearing too much Americans going on about tiny European salaries. You're like, man, trust me, we're doing fine over here. We're doing fucking grand. I have rambled on for way too fucking long here, lads. Listen, if you're working in any country as a freelance artist that I have it listed, or if you're working in the USA and you want to correct me on anything, please do let me know. I want to see what the overall worldview is of different countries if you're trying to make a living as a freelance artist. So please let me know. Canadians especially. I couldn't get much info on Canada. Let me know. So, do you know what I think Americans do? Honestly, if you want to be a freelance artist and take a risk, and I don't mean this to be insensitive here, but please tell me if this is what you do. Do you just marry rich? Do you just marry someone who's got a better job and a stable job, and then you can afford to take creative risks? Because I really can't see any other way in which you can afford to take a risk. There's no subsidy for it in America. If it doesn't pay off, you're fucked. You've ruined your life. So why would you bother taking the risk? Insane. Anyway, let me know. Lads, I'm away here. See you next week. Free Palestine. Mwah.